All right, let's go to some protest action. You may have seen this video, which surfaced on Twitter. This is Nancy Pelosi at a fundraising event being protested by a ceasefire activist.
Nancy Pelosi, you are complicit in the Israeli crime of genocide. I'm an Iraqi refugee, and I watched your government you represent kill 1 million of my people. You killed 70,000 Afghans, and now over 30,000 Palestinians have died due to your complicity. We demand an end to the Zionist occupation of Palestine. We demand an end to the 17-year-long brutal siege of Gaza to be lifted. We demand an end. End the occupation now. End the occupation now. End the occupation now. End the occupation now.
Those nice liberals.
End the occupation now.
In the room. Same crowd you see at the symphony.
Now.
Yep.
Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine.
Look at all those nice pro-democracy, anti-racists in the audience applauding Nancy Pelosi while an Iraqi refugee gets dragged out of the room for voicing her concerns to one of the top-ranking Democrats in the country. See, Marianne, this is how I knew you were going to finish in single digits before your campaign started. Because the voters in the Democratic Party, they're not all as rich as this, but they all want to be these people. Like the mainstream Democratic primary voters, they aspire to be in this room. And this is how people in this room act when confronted with someone who actually demands real justice. They ignore them, they turn their back, and they applaud the queen bee. They applaud the mother, Mama Bear. Hey, Mama Bear, what do you know? That's how you that's the response you actually get from these people.
Yeah, I know you don't like animal comparisons, but basically, Democrats are like good dogs.
Right. Yeah.
No, that's what they want to be pat on the head.
Right.
And with the promise that as long as they adopt elite opinions, elite status will follow. And even if they don't have financial capital, holding those opinions gives them cultural capital.
Exactly. Now, Nancy Pelosi was asked on CNN today about protesters like that, because to her, I guess that woman, even though she said she was an Iraqi refugee, sounded like a Putin puppet to Nancy Pelosi. Let's hear her.
My house all the time. So I have a feeling for what feelings they have. But we have to think about what we're doing. And what we have to do is try to stop the suffering in Gaza. This is women and children, people who don't have a place to go. So let's address that. But for them to call for a ceasefire is Mr. Putin's message.
Oh.
Mr. Putin's message. Wow. Make no mistake, this is directly connected to what he would like to see. Same thing with Ukraine. It's about Putin's message. I think some of these protesters are spontaneous and organic and sincere. Some, I think, are connected to Russia. And I say that having looked at this for a long time now. As you know,
think some of these protests are Russian plants?
I don't think they're plants. I think some financing should be investigated. And I want to ask the FBI to investigate that. But
you want to ask the FBI to investigate?
Well, this is why we have to keep Democrats in power, to protect democracy and freedom.
Exactly.
So that we can keep in power people who want the FBI to investigate political protesters on the premise that they're Russian plants.
Based on absolutely zero evidence whatsoever.
Based on nothing, from a criminal inside stock trader who does it with impunity and shuts down any attempt to regulate stock trading by Congress and the Senate.
As her district is plagued with drug addiction, homelessness, desperation, she's enriched herself to $150 million net worth based on insider stock trading. Yeah, probably more than that by now. But no, she wants to investigate the funding of the Free Palestine protesters. She doesn't want her funding investigated. She doesn't want her stock trades investigated. She wants to investigate you if you support a ceasefire. So that's just obviously just an insane comment. It's the only card they have to play, Putin, right? But what she says here next is, in a way, even worse. In a way. In a way, not. But in a way, even worse. Let's let this play a little bit more.
Apart from that, let's just say it's all spontaneous and sincere. Let's say it's all spontaneous and sincere. Young people care about the right to choose. They care about LGBTQ issues. They care about preserving the planet. They care about gun violence prevention. That's what they tell us. They care about our democracy and the freedoms that are contained in some of what I said. So they're going to have to make a decision, staying home to enable or to agonize, organize, not agonize, but organize, and get out there and get the job. I have every confidence that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will be President and Vice President of the United States.
What she's saying there is, assuming these protests are spontaneous, I'm confident that young people will sell out the people of Gaza in the end. I'm confident they'll sell them out in the end because young people are pro-choice, young people are pro-LGBT, young people are pro-gun control, young people want to end climate change, and so they will suck up our genocide and vote for us anyway. I trust that they will fold in the end. And why wouldn't she think that? They usually do. So the question is, to everybody in the chat and to all of the friends of everybody in the chat, are you going to prove her right, or are you going to make an asshole out of her? Ultimately, it falls to us. It falls to the people, and it falls to the voters to make an asshole out of her in November and say no. Just as that wonderful young girl said in the interview on Face the Nation that we played, young woman, pardon me, because she's a voter, obviously. So she said, yeah, I'm for reproductive rights, but it'd be hypocritical for me to make that my single issue when we are forcing moms to have C-sections without anesthesia in Gaza because of the horrors that we are helping impose upon them. And so ultimately it falls to us. What she just said there is, yeah, they might be upset about this genocide that we are helping, but they'll fold in the end because they want rights for themselves. Ultimately, they're going to protect their own rights, even if it means rubber stamping a Holocaust. That's what she's saying you're going to do. So it's up to you guys, up to everybody to prove her wrong. Otherwise, shame on us at the end of the day.
I think that Gen Z is something very different from most of what you've seen with the Democratic Party post-Clinton. You saw rumblings of this even in 2016 when they would poll like the youngest cohorts, and they would say they didn't identify with the Democratic Party. They didn't trust the Democratic Party. You're starting to see that block become larger, a much larger block of the over 18s. And as I wrote in my first article about this, the Frankenstein article, I think this has created a kind of cognitive dissonance for Gen Z, seeing their elders who told them how much they cared about brown people and equal rights and decolonization, seeing them all line up behind what is clearly a settler colonial state committing a genocide in real time is having the effect that growing up to realize that large parts of the country were segregated and we were involved in a war in Vietnam that was slaughtering peasant farmers had on the boomers because they were raised to believe that America was better than that. Their parents told them about how we went and overthrew the Nazis and how their racism, how bad it was. And then they grew up and realized they live in an apartheid country. And that was a big part of what turned them against the establishment. We're seeing that happening with Gen Z. They're seeing what the real face of their elders are, and they're turning, and God bless them. I don't think they're going to cave.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think so either. And that's exactly right. It's exactly right. How can young people look at Gen Xers, boomers, and say, wait a minute, I thought you guys told us that racism was wrong. I thought you guys told us that colonialism was wrong, domination
We were past all that.
was wrong. I thought we were past all that. I thought you taught us better than that. Turns out you don't believe any of that.
Right.
You just tell us you do because you want to put a smiley face on the economic order that you enjoy. That's basically why you told us all that. But when the rubber hits the road, you don't actually mean it. And I think they are waking up to that. And I think you're right. I think they're not going to cave. Certainly the Arab and Muslim voters are not going to cave. Well, we'll get to that later.
Please clap.